Who am I? I'm depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, addiction, schizophrenia, PTSD. Who am I? Mental illness.
It's very hard to understand what's going on in someone else's mind.
All of my friends have some sort of mental illness. I don't know why or how we all came to find each other, but I guess I'm lucky that I have a small group of people who understand that some days it's going to be hard to get out of bed, and some days are going to feel absolutely impossible.
I've always been a really happy kid, always smiling, always laughing, always not really caring what the world and other people think of me. But when I was 14, I fell into a trap known as depression by a lot of you.
So I've dealt with depression pretty frequently throughout high school, but especially throughout the past few months.
November 18th, 2016 was the day that I was diagnosed with clinical anxiety and put on medication.
It used to come up before sports. I would get so nervous that I would throw up. And before tests, my hands would shake so much I could barely hold a pencil.
I was diagnosed with depression when I was 13, but I had known something wasn't right for a few years prior.
I've been struggling with depression for over 2 years, and it is by far the hardest part of my life.
Insomnia controls my mind 10 o'clock sharp every night.
I personally have had OCD since I was very young, and I've grown up with it.
I struggled with a lot of depression and anxiety throughout my life.
Mental illness is something that surrounds all of us, It's not always going to be yourself or your close friends. It can be family members, distant relatives, people you have class with, and it affects all of us. The only thing is some people don't know it affects them.
I used to think that I was depression, anorexia, bulimia, anxiety, and obsessive compulsive disorder. I was my addiction. I was suicidal. I felt helpless and sought comfort through addiction and starving. I was fine. I couldn't see the damage I was causing. Low blood pressure, slow heart rate, poor circulation.
I was always nervous and sad about everything, and my mental state was slowly spiraling downwards.
I got in a huge fight with my parents. I remember screaming to them that I'd rather be dead than live the life I was living at that moment. It was the first time I'd realized how terrible I felt. But the worst part was the way my parents failed to realize how real my words were.
I struggle with going to school, waking up in the morning, putting a smile on my face, pretending everything's okay.
It started by being in bed for days, not wanting to do anything, see anyone, just being lethargic, and just being there and asking myself why I was alive, why I was there.
It's terrifying when sometimes I'll look back on myself and say, I can't believe that this upset me so much to the point where I was just sobbing and being unhappy with myself.
I became suicidal. My grades dropped. I struggled through losing many friends and being bullied for months.
I have to call one of the few people I feel like I can talk to just to get myself to realize I don't have to end my life.
I'm ambitious, outgoing, and I feel like I'm on top of the world one day. And then just like that, my whole world feels like it's crashing down around me, and I don't want to exist anymore.
You feel like you're falling into a really, almost endless hole. And I know that sounds cliche, but there's nowhere to really go and no one to really tell.
And I became nauseous before going to school and stopped going places because I didn't want to see people that I loved.
I had lost 20 pounds because my anxiety was through the roof. I could not eat, even if I wanted to. I stayed up at night, not knowing why. I could not focus on schoolwork.
It was always my fault to blame. I didn't think I had a problem. But it's not a healthy cycle when you're plagued by regrets from the passing days and fear for the upcoming ones.
All the mental illness talk, all of this should be accepted. Some of the smartest people were schizophrenic. Some of the smartest people and most influential people have anxiety, have PTSD, have depression. It's something that you can never get out of, the influence of it.
Depression doesn't care if you're popular. It doesn't care if you have a boyfriend. It doesn't care if you have people who care about you. It is a constant struggle for me, made worse by people with no disregard for my feelings, who have made me come home sobbing after school for weeks on end. It is a disease that affects me physically and mentally every day, all the time.
People tend to make generalizations about people with OCD and people with all mental health issues. But I don't think that's fair because it really does vary from person to person, and no person with a mental health issue is the same. And I want people to know that mental health is very important, and mental health issues occur in a lot of people.
And the resources are everywhere. It's just people have to know that they want that and that they need it. Because if your family just tells you, oh, nothing's wrong with you, like, you don't have this, you're not going to want to seek the help. You're not going to want to get out there, talk to the community, see what your options are.
I've learned that it's okay to ask for help and that anxiety is a part of me chemically. Those who have to go through any mental disorder are often the strongest of people, which needs to be said more often.
If you are dealing with a mental illness, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. This storm will pass. You aren't alone. I promise, you aren't alone.
High school and colleges set people up to think that the only way to be happy later on in life is getting a good education. And the truth is that it's not correlated at all.
People who have them, please know that you are not alone. There are so many people who have experienced things like you have. And even though it may seem that you're alone, I promise you you're not. There's always someone there who wants to help you. And it's totally possible to get better.
Making that big step to help can either be a make or break. You can either get it or you can miss it.
So many other people have been in a dark place, and by supporting each other, we can all improve our well-being.
You know, I think it's really, really essential that, especially at this time, you reach out to people. Say sorry to the people you've wronged. Make a point of trying to make everyone's lives better. We've all done bad things in our lives, and I'm sure we've all been mean to people at some points, but you don't know what's going to push someone over the edge. And I think everyone just really needs to take that into consideration and try to make yourself the best self you can be. If you need to get help, try to get help. Reach out to someone you trust. And if you've wronged someone, try to make that right. That could mean the world to someone.